Good afternoon, fellow ruminators. Welcome back to another session, Rumination with Andrew. Thank you so much for joining as we are about to discuss a very important topical matter. And this morning, I hope that my mic is working. I'd like to talk about the SPARK program, the CBDC surveillance and the Jamaican Labour Party. Now, remember now, when we talk about parties, we must understand that many of the policies in Jamaica and around the world, particularly the West, are bipartisan agreements, right? So many times when you say the GLP is responsible for that or the PNP is responsible for this, remember that when they are in Gordon House, when they are in the House of Representatives, in the Senate, they work together. I mean, they present a divided front to you, but behind the scenes, they work together and they craft policies that suit the interest of the ruling class and also of the politicians and generally not the people. So a lot of times when we hear them with niceties and they're going to build new roads and they're going to modernize them, it sounds all good. And why not? And I think that what has happened is that many of us we lack knowledge. We don't understand the times in which we live, that we're not living in normal times. And if you were following what happened in 2020, you would have understood that. If you read about the infrastructure that was put in place even before, long before 2020, but particularly implemented in 2020, you would be um you would be astonished. Why is this thing here now? All right. You would be astonished as to what is happening. So this is something that we need to understand, and it's something that we need to grasp that we're living in some very, very dangerous times. I wonder why my screen is looking so, smeared, as it were. Okay, so that is what I wanted to say. But the government of Jamaica, through the Spark program, is something that is quite interesting. And we shall be looking at some of the things that the government has in store for the Jamaican people. So what Spark program gets underway? And this is an article that was written in the Jamaica Observer on December 30th, 2024. The construction phase of the Shared Prosperity Through Accelerated Improvement to our Road Network project, SPARK, is now underway, having begun in Harborview, St. Andrew last weekend. The work is being done along the Everest Drive and will see the 1.1-kilometer stretch of road being completely rehabilitated at a cost of $60 million. So the SPARK program has already begun, right? It is in full gear. Prime Minister Holness, that's Andrew Holness, who did a walkthrough of the project on Monday, says that the Everest Drive had been identified as one of the community roads for rehabilitation following extensive consultations with residents. The Prime Minister, in speaking about the rehabilitation or the rehabilitative works now being done along Everest Drive, says that the road was being done under the $20 billion allocated to fix parochial roads under the project. A similar amount is to be used to target main roads. Now, this is something interesting. I hear different figures being tossed around and being tossed about. Yesterday, I read an article by Mark Wignall who was suggesting that there was just only $7 billion that were allocated. I don't know. And he was suggesting that $7 billion are really, really a drop in the bucket and will not be able to rehabilitate Jamaican roads. So that's another discussion. I don't know. We can only read what we and to accept what they've given to us until we are given other stories. So it's important that you read multiple sources. No one source is correct and true. And I was, having a debate last night, a conversation, I should say, with one of my subscribers who was saying to me, oh, you can't believe what this person is saying because it's propaganda. Yes, propaganda is what is in politics. Everything coming out of politics is propaganda for the most part, right? So we have to read, and we have to read with a fine-tuned comb, right? Is a fine teeth comb? Yeah, something of that. Let's say, yeah, with a fine teeth comb that we can be able to look at what is true and we throw away what is false, right? But everything, we can't say one article or one media house is that source of truth, because that's not true. All right. Every media house has their propaganda mixed. And that's the whole matter of propaganda. It contains some element of truth and a lot of falsehood. Right. So we have to understand that there is always some element of truth within propaganda, but the conclusion reached is always distorted. All right. And that is what we have to understand. Now, there was an article also written on January 10th. So this is more recent, 2025, about the spark that will fuel the future of transport. So the Spark program is also aligned with transportation and not only the building of roads. Of course, roads connect us to different parts of the country and or to different, location spots. In a world in which the hum of vehicles and the quiet rattle of trains define our days, Jamaica's infrastructure struggles to keep up with the growing demands of its people. A nation rich in culture, color, and spirit, Jamaica finds its roads, railways, airports, and bridges faltering under the weight of time. And that is true that our infrastructure is collapsing because we have not maintained them since independence. Modest improvements here and there, but they have not been properly maintained and consistently maintained. It has been more than 6 decades since the country gained independence, and the very infrastructure that connects its communities, businesses, and dreams has been largely left untouched since those early days. The question remains, how can Jamaica propel itself into the future when its foundations, such as roads, railways, airports, and bridges, are crumbling? So the newspaper here is suggesting, is confirming, has confirmed that our infrastructure is crumbling, right? And I have said that it has collapsed. The answer perhaps lies in an innovative and bold plan, the Spark program. So the Spark program is a revolutionary modern day project that they're using to modernize the transportation system in Jamaica. The Shared Prosperity Through Accelerated program to our road network, that's a Spark project, launched in December 2024, represents hope and reinvention. So your roads are going to be kept in good conditions, right? And we're going to see how the roads are going to be kept in good condition. The Jamaican government, under the leadership of Prime Minister Andrew Holness, has recognized the immense need for infrastructure rehabilitation and has committed a whopping $45 billion to revamp the nation's crumbling transportation network. And in the context of the Jamaican situation, right, and our dollar, that our dollar is such a very weak and fragile currency. Do you think $45 billion can do all what they're telling us that they are going to do? I really doubt that. And because we have a system, an infrastructure that has not been maintained for decades, as the papers here are also suggesting, I think $45 billion is a drop in the bucket. That's what I think. I don't know. Right, but because I don't think $1 billion in Jamaica worth a lot of things as $1 billion, $1 billion US dollars, right? So, but you perhaps know more than I do. Maybe it's a lot and it will get everything done, right? Sometimes when I see all these big figures, I get confused, right? But this is more than a mere road repair project. It's not just, repairing our roads. It is a profound statement that Jamaica's future depends on updating its infrastructure to meet the needs of its people, economy, and future generations, which is true. Because without proper roads, we won't be able to get to where we're getting on time. It's going to affect productivity. And that is something I have been clamoring for on this channel. Can you imagine if we had a functioning, efficient railroad system? We would be able to connect Kingston to the rural areas. So a teacher, for example, in St. Anne could travel to Kingston College, to George, whatever school, to Jamaica College to teach and go back home if we had a functioning railroad system. And not only functioning, efficient. So you have times when it leaves and it arrives and departure, arrival and departure times, right? So people can plan. So that's what we call efficiency. So not only that does it work, but it's also efficient. Air Jamaica, for example, was functioning, but it was not efficient. And for the lack of efficiency, of running that airline, the airline died. At least, well, we lost it. Jamaica lost that airline due to inefficiency. We don't know how to run anything efficiently and to ensure that the airline was running on time. Now, Jamaica's infrastructure is in desperate need of this update, as many of the roads, railways, bridges, and airports were constructed in the mid-20th century. So we're still in the 20th century now. Jamaica's infrastructure is still in the 1960s, apart from the highways, right, that we have recently built, that are not really ours per se. They were built by other people, and we are paying high tolls for them. And in many cases, they have not seen significant upgrades since the country gained independence in 1962. So we're in the 1960s, right? And I was listening to Joseph Patterson the other day on a program with somebody who was interviewing him, and he suggested, he lives in St. Elizabeth, that a lot of our infrastructure, even at home, the outside toilet are, have been built from the 1950s. So Jamaica is behind. We're not a modern country. And we're fooled by what we see with these high-rise buildings and all of these things. We gloat over these things, not understanding that even when Jamaica was a slave colony, that you'd have modern things there too. You'd have the railway system, right? Jamaica was one of the first countries in the West, right, to have gotten its railway system up and running. And that happened during slavery. But was that beneficial to the slaves? No, right? To the managerial class, right? To the manufacturing class, yes, it was necessary, and they built it for them, for the purposes of them. Even the Chinese who are going there to Jamaica, they are building the infrastructure to suit their purposes, that they can move from one end of the island to the other. But many of our people can't even use our highways because they can't afford the high tolls that are set for them. As a result, the deteriorating state of the nation's roads has led to an increase in crashes, travel delays, and even economic setbacks due to the inefficiencies in transportation. The infrastructure that once served a young and emerging nation is now strained by the pressures of an ever-growing population and economy. The time for serious intervention is now. So the Prime Minister has decided to intervene, and we have to thank him. But here comes the Chinese people, right? At the heart of the Spark program is the selection of the right contractor to bring the vision to life. Enter China Harbor Engineering Company, the SHEC, a firm with experience and expertise in large-scale infrastructure projects worldwide. Right? So they are. It's interesting to note that, the government of the United States is anti-Chinese, especially under Trump. So we don't know how this is going to work in terms of what might happen if there is going to be a pause, a halt on the road program because the Chinese are involved. We don't know. These are just speculations. I'm not suggesting that it's going to happen. I do understand that Trump is going to have an aggressive foreign policy, attitude towards the Chinese. Right? The Democrats had this aggressive and muscular foreign policy towards the Russians, and the Republicans are known to have an aggressive foreign policy towards the Chinese. Understand that they're the same, they just have different agendas, but they are accomplishing the U.S. military-industrial complexes agendas. All right? So when you think, oh, it's Trump, it's not Trump, it's the U.S. military-industrial complex. Grow up. Now, Czech's involvement is crucial, not just because of its impressive track record, but also because it offers the promise of high-quality construction and innovation. The $45 billion contract granted to Czech ensures that Jamaica's roads, railways, and bridges are not only repaired, but built to withstand the test of time. It's not just about patching up potholes. It's about creating a lasting legacy. That's what we want, right? But let us see what this lasting legacy is about. One of the most promising aspects of this plan is the inclusion of new construction techniques. For example, building roads with removable concrete slabs is an innovative approach to making future repairs more manageable and less disruptive. With these concrete slabs, repairs can be done swiftly and traffic disruptions minimized. This proactive approach to road design speaks to a future in which infrastructure is not just built, but maintained with ease and foresight. But the vision of Spark goes beyond mere roadways. It imagines a harmonious, interconnected system by which utilities like electricity, water, and telecommunications run smoothly underground, unobtrusively through easily accessible conduits. So we're going to have underground water, are we? And the NWC don't have to dig up the roads and all of that stuff, right? And the electricity is also going to be underground. So we are really modernizing. And I'm sure you're saying, hoorah, all right, we are there. And we are going to be a modern Jamaica that we can say Jamaica to the world. Absolutely. By partnering with companies like Jamaica Public Service, National Water Commission, Flow, and Digicel, this initiative aims to create a comprehensive modern infrastructure network that will streamline future maintenance efforts. A comprehensive, updatable digital 3D roadwork, 3D, would not only track the progress of these utilities, but also provide an easy way for the entities to manage and update their infrastructure. All right, I want you to listen. Please listen, because some nice things are coming for you, right? Some niceties, and you're going to laugh, and you're going to dance, you're going to party. Such a map could be used for future innovations, such as AI-driven self-driving cars. You're going to have you're going to drive, you just sit in a car and say, take me to Kingston. And you sit and the car takes you without you even putting your hands on the wheel, right? AI-driven self-driving cars that would require precise and accessible road information to function optimally. As we consider the future of Jamaica's roads, that's our roads and or railways and bridges and airports, the question arises, how can we fund such a monumental undertaking without burdening the people with toll fees? The solution, it seems, lies in an innovative approach to funding, the resale of advertising space. Jamaica's roadways, railways, and even sidewalks could become prime locations for advertising billboards. I mean, are we in a rich country? What are these advertising billboards going to do? But I guess it's a way of generating lots of money, right? And that they can maintain the roads because they're suggesting, and it sounds good, right? It sounds too good to be true though, but it sounds logical, it sounds practical. Give them their credit that you could use this instead of charging tolls. So they're trying now to limit the charging of tolls because they know that Jamaicans are tired of tolls. So they had to say, let's see how we are going to generate income to maintain the roads, if they maintain the roads, right? These billboards would not only offer valuable exposure to advertisers, but would also serve as a sustainable revenue source for the government to reinvest in infrastructure projects. This model taps into a captive audience, motorists and passengers traveling along the newly improved routes, rather than charging toll fees, which burden the public directly. So they're thinking about your pockets. The revenue generated from advertising could be used to cover the costs of these extensive infrastructure upgrades. And, it begs to this, to ask the question, is this going to be in alignment with the World Economic Forums and their, you'll be happy and you have nothing and you'll be happy, right? So they know we're not going to have any money and we're going to be happy because they're going to take care of us. The granny state will take care of you. Further expanding this idea, the concept of an electric train or monorail system powered by advertising space is equally promising. Imagine a network of electric trains or even monorails traveling between towns and cities, with advertising billboards integrated into the sidewalks and stations. This not only provides a sustainable mode of transportation, but also an opportunity for continuous revenue generation. This is the future of Jamaican transport, a future that is clean, efficient, and self-sustaining, right? Wonderful. Now, isn't it beautiful how our media houses, they put beautiful pictures on things in Jamaica, right? The ruling class. Now, with the rise of digital currencies and biometric technology, this is now where it is serious. They're going to track you, right? The road networks that they are about to develop are systems that are designed to track and trace every movement, your every movement, and perhaps what you say. All right? So you have to be careful what you will say on these transportation system, right? With the rise of digital currencies and biometric technology, let me repeat that, Jamaica's transport system could embrace even more innovative payment methods. The use of central bank digital currencies. So the central bank digital currencies are going to be a part of this Spark program. And biometric recognition, so you will be recognized even if you're running and trying to escape from the government. That is fingerprint, voice analysis, and facial recognition could streamline payment processes for public transport, making it seamless, secure, and convenient for passengers. Right. If you're tracked and you're traced, it will make you safe because all of this is done in the name of national security and for your convenience. And we love convenience, don't we? Even when we are surveilled. In this vision, transportation is no longer a hassle, but a part of the everyday rhythm of life made possible by cutting-edge technology, right? I hope you are seeing what is happening. I'm not going to read further because I think you have caught the gist based on the topic of the video. I said when I came here that I'm going to talk about the SWAT program, the CBDC, and the Andrew Holness's led administration. And this is what it is going to do, right? Voice recognition, right? They're going to surveil your movements. The CBDC will also be in operation and the NIDS. And if you're going to have the CBDC, you're going to have the NIDS. So even on the roads, the parochial roads, that is how perhaps the Prime Minister, whether it's going to be Andrew Holness, JLP, or it's going to be Mark Golding's PNP, because as I have suggested to you, somebody yesterday sent me a message that we won't have the person, I guess he was referring to Andrew Holness, who will institute the mark of the beast. Let me just say to you, the mark of the beast can be implemented under the JLP as well as under the PNP, right? We don't know what is going to cause that situation because we are not gods, right? And we don't know when the mark of the beast will be instituted. We know based on what we're reading, and if you are a diligent reader of the Bible, if you are a diligent Bible student, you'll understand that the infrastructure is now being built worldwide for the institution, for the implementation of the mark of the beast, that you will not be able to buy or sell. And how are they going to allow that to ensure that you don't buy or sell? By controlling. So if you are going to travel on the roads, they're going to see you. Your voice will be recognized, your movements, your face recognition, everything about you is going to be recorded, right? And that is what you have to understand. So this Spark program sounds intelligent. It sounds innocent, right? It sounds like it's something the government is doing and to help us and, to make an efficient transportation system and to build a long-lasting, permanent road networks. And that is something honorable. That is something that we need. But here is the catchphrase. Here is the catch to what they're doing. While you need these things, we are also going to take advantage of you. And those of you who are against the NIDS and the CBDCs, this is where it comes in. If you have to use the roads, which you have to use roads, you have to move around, then you are going to have to accept the NIDS and the CBDCs, because that's the only way you're going to be able to travel. Too bad for you, right? So this is what we have to understand. And notice how the observer was quite clever in that they put the information about the NIDS, not the NIDS, but the CBDCs and the recognition and all of these things right there at the bottom of the article. They planted that story right at the bottom of the article because they don't want you to see. Probably you started to read the article. Okay, oh, this is what they're going to do, or you move on. A lot of times we don't finish reading our articles because we have so many other things to read, right? So people don't read entire articles anymore. Very, few, if any, do, right? But we have to read because a lot of times, even in the New York Times, they plant the very important information at the bottom. And if you said, oh, I read that, or I didn't see that, because you didn't read, You didn't take the time to read and to analyze and to read the entire article. Because we don't have any time, we're always on the go. And let me just say this to end the video. For those of you who have children, you've got to let your children know about what is happening. All of this basketball and football, and they're engaged in all of these entertainment things. You have to give these things up. You've got to exercise, absolutely, to keep the body fit. But these things are not helping them to grow and to stimulate their mind and their thinking, right? And now is the time to let them know, because this is the world that they are going to inherit. We are going to inherit that world if we live long enough, but more so, children, the other generation, are going to inherit this, what you call 1984 world, the world of surveillance. Thank you so much for joining. I hope that you like, share, and subscribe. Remember now that when you subscribe, it builds the community and it helps our channel to survive and to give as much information as possible. Thank you so much for joining. See you in another one. All the best.